Absolutely. So let's turn it over to our wonderful panel here.
And take it away, Rachel.
Lori, I'm Rachel Solomon. I'm the principal at Churchill Elementary School in Glen Ellen 41. So my question for you is really in this time of uncertainty, what tips can you give to parents to be able to support their own mental health, but also how can they help support the mental health of their children?
I think one of the things that parents tend to do is they tend to kind of, and I'm going to use Wendy Mogul's phrase here, interview their children for pain. They ask a lot of questions. Are you okay? How was it? Are you anxious? Are you worried? What happened in this class, right? And I think you want to create a space where your kids can come to you. And also sometimes when kids come in the door after school, that's not when they want to talk. They just want to go do their thing. And maybe later, where they're really relaxed, they might say something. And then not to then bombard them with multiple questions about what they're talking about, right? So it's really just making sure that you are not going to feel invasive to them, intrusive to them, but just being present in a benign way. And that's really how you get your kids to kind of, include you and trust you. I can say that, I think that we have to understand there's a lot of neurodiversity and that different kids are comfortable interacting in different ways. And I think we want to make room for them. And so you have an anxious kid and you take them to a therapist and maybe they don't want to really have a conversation in that way, even though they hate it in the beginning, they feel like their parents are forcing them to go. But later on, they feel like, oh, I can tell you all this stuff and you're not going to tell my parents. And now I have a trusted adult that I can actually talk this through with.
Sean, take it away. You're up next.
Hi, I'm Sean. I'm a senior at Glenbard West. And I was wondering, now that we're starting to get into the full workload, what are some ways that we could maybe help out a friend or anyone we know who might be experiencing depression or some other mental illness?
The word depression, I think, has a lot of stigma attached to it. And so there are ways to talk to your friend about like, hey, I've noticed that maybe you're having a hard time and I'm having a hard time too. And a lot of us are having a hard time. And what's going on? How are you doing? Right? Just to make sure that they know that you can talk to them, but also that you relate to what they're going through. And also, that there are people that they can talk to you, but they can also talk to maybe their parents, or maybe there's a coach, or maybe there's like someone, a counselor at school, or someone that they can reach out to. I think a lot of times what people do is their friend is depressed and they don't know what to do and they kind of avoid them. And that's really not a good idea, is to really make sure they know, hey, I'm here and I know you're having a hard time and let's talk about it.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
For our last question, you talked about this just a little bit, but I know how important it is, and you would agree, that's self-care. That's so hard for us to make the time.
Self-care is taking the time to really check in with yourself and really make sure that you are living in a balanced way. Are you running around in a way that makes you feel like you are not sleeping well? You don't have time to have your meals, basic things like that. You're not connecting with people who are important to you. You find yourself yelling at your kid a lot, right? Because you're like, did you do this? Did you do that? How's your homework going? Right? That kind of thing, instead of just having some like downtime with your kid. We feel like having fun is optional. A lot of people in therapy, when they say like, when I say, what do you do for fun? And they look at me like, fun? What's that? So what does fun look like for you? How can you integrate more fun into your life? What does it mean to have fun with the people who are important to you? And if you're not doing that, what's getting in the way?
And then the modeling of that kind of behavior, how important that is, right? They're going to learn from us, right?
Well, that's right. So I think so many times parents feel like, well, I'm sacrificing everything for my child and they're going to really appreciate that. But what they're seeing is they're seeing a model of adulthood that looks very unappealing to them. And you really want to model for them, like, my life does not revolve around you, child, right? Like, I'm here for you and you can always count on me. But I also have a life and I'm going to see my friends and I'm going to go out with my partner and I'm going to do all of these things because that's part of having a life. And I think that the more that we can show them an appealing version of adulthood, the more agency they will have in their lives and the more excited they will be to really consider what it means to be an adult and the privileges of being an adult instead of dreading.
Thank you.
Oh my
I've
gosh.
enjoyed this conversation, and I know everyone who's listening has enjoyed the conversation. Thank you. Thanks,
Good night.
everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.